Hello everyone, and welcome back to the BNSF Purpose Subdivision and part 3 of CV shortcuts. CV10 back EMF cutoff. Now, if you've been watching the other series in CV shortcuts, parts 1 and 2, you would have by now reduced your maximum speed, so you're not running around like slot cars on speed step 2 and 3, and your notches are far more realistic, but we'll be going into that even further and making your notches even more realistic in upcoming videos, but baby steps. Also, you would have adjusted your start voltage as low as you possibly can, and you would have also adjusted your back EMF so you get as much torque as you need, not too much, but just as much torque as you need for a slow start off under load, and then reducing the back EMF as much as you can so the locos don't fight as much with our warm bars. So once you've got your back EMF set for a nice smooth start under load, now we're going to reduce that back EMF, or that cruise control, because once the motor's up and running at a reasonable speed, even just a slower speed, we don't need much back EMF, and the more you get up, you don't need any back EMF at all, unless, of course, you want to run your trains at the same speed up and down hills. You might do that for an exhibition layout or something like that, where you're running heavy trains and you don't want them stalling on a hill and then running down. But for most of us, we don't want any back EMF at all once you're up and running. And the beauty of that is two reasons why we reduce our back EMF. One is so our trains will slow on the hills, and depending on how much we reduce that back EMF and how quickly we do it, as you'll see in this video, you can actually get your train to stall. As in not stall as in loss of traction, but stall just in stop because the motor doesn't have enough power. We don't really want to do that, but you can do it. But the main reason is to have it set in that sweet spot. So when you get to a hill, let's say you're on speed step 20 or 30 or whatever, and you're on notch 3 or 4 or 5, and when you get to a hill, the train will slow down and slow down. You can start notching up and increasing your speed steps because the back EMF is going off, so you're getting less of that cruise control effect, and now you need to apply more voltage to the motor. And as you do that, you ramp up your speed steps, and of course as you do that, your notches start going up, and you might be able to go up, two notches maybe, and your train will either stay at the same speed, or depending on the load or how steep the hill is, might actually slow down. And that's what I've done with mine, to try and get that sweet spot. So let's have a look at CV10 and how we adjust it. So let's see what we're trying to do here with this CV10 back EMF cutoff. So here we have our speed steps, 0 to 128. Remember, always use 128. You'll get a smoother control than 28 speed steps. And here is our back EMF, 0 to 255. Now, if you remember, I have mine set at 220. On the Tsunami ones, you really shouldn't have to go much over 100 to get a little bit of wheel slip on start. Pardon me. But on the Tsunami 2s, because of the DDE, their back EMF is a lot softer. So I found most of my new ones now for the Tsunami 2 have to be around 200 to 220. So what we're trying to do is to stop our cruise control and our locos fighting with each other. Even if they're speed matched, they will fight a little bit at certain times, so we're trying to reduce that, and we're also trying to get that cruise control effect turned off as quick as we can, so we can let our train slow down on the hill and notch up a bit more. But you've got to be careful. If you see here, we've got our back EMF turning off at speed step 60, and as our throttle goes up here, our notching goes up here, and so at about, where are we? That's about speed step 30 there. We have, some back EMF left, and then as we go up to speed step 60, this is just an example, our back EMF is turned off at 60. I have my back EMF turned off at 45. As you know, I run my trains pretty slow. What that allows me to do is to have trains crawling on a hill down to a lot slower speed in notch 8, and they're not screaming up the hill. And then when you crest the hill, you have to start backing off. Now, another thing that happens is as you start backing off your throttle, so your throttle's coming back down here, your back EMF is starting to increase. So what will happen is that if you're cresting the grade and you start backing off your throttle, so your speed steps are coming down, your back EMF is starting to rise. And let's say we get down to speed step, say 40, well now we've got a bit of back EMF. So as your train comes up off the grade and starts going flat, you might actually start speeding up. So therefore you have to notch down maybe another notch. So it makes it a lot more realistic. You have to be careful though. If you make your back EMF cut off, let's say here at 20, and it's coming down here like this, you may not have enough voltage on your motor to keep your train running, and we'll demonstrate that in a minute. So you have to find this sweet spot of where you want to take off to have your back EMF stop. And as I say, with me, I found that about speed step 45 to 50 is good. And remember, you have to make sure every one of your locomotives is set the same, otherwise some will still have more back EMF than others. So let's have a look in practice and see what happens. Right, what we've done, we've set CV10 to 10, which is way too low, but what will happen is, she'll show you an extreme example what will happen. So we'll get our maximum back EMF, whatever we've had it set to, at speed step 1, and as soon as we start throttling up, the back EMF will start ramping off, and when we get to when we get to speed step 10, we won't have any back EMF left. And at speed step 10, we don't have enough voltage to the motor to really keep the train moving, so you'll see what happens. Here we go. Now see, speed step 1, we have enough to move. As I start going up, it's not going to do it now. Let me just stop it. Now there we go. I've actually stopped the train, and there's not enough back EMF to even start it again. So here we go. That's speed step 14, 15. Right, so I had to go up to speed step 22 before there was enough voltage there. Remember, we've turned the back EMF off at speed step 10, which is way too early. This demonstration to show you what happens. So let's increase the back EMF now to, let's say, 20. So CV10 will enter a value of 20. Now what we'll do, we'll get this on a hill and we'll show you exactly what happens on a hill. Okay, we're at speed step 35, which is notch 6, and our back EMF is cut off at 20. And you can see we'll be crawling up. This is 1.8% grade. We've only got, 10 cars behind, so it's no load at all virtually. Nice light container cars here. And you can see that the back EMF is cut off that early that we probably don't have enough volts to make the hill. Let's see what happens. Speed step 35. Now what I'm going to do is start backing off the throttle here. Now of course, as I'm backing off, what am I up to now? I'm back up to down to speed step 20. And now we're starting to get more back EMF. So the speed hasn't really changed much. So that's the idea of this whole thing, that we can keep notching up to go up a hill and the speed won't increase too much. The only trouble is, I'll go down to speed step 10 and see what happens. It's starting to get a little bit jerky there. Okay, so now we're stalled, we're at speed step 8. And if I try and take off, now it just doesn't have enough back EMF to get going. There we go, slowly. Okay, so we know that 20 is a little bit too early to be backing off the back EMF. So let's take it to 35. Now I know I have mine set at 50, and this is totally up to you how you have it, how much you want the trains to slow down, and also you have to set it high enough so they don't stall completely, and that mucks up all your slow starts there. So let's try setting CV10 to 35. But our back EMF now is set to turn off at 35. We're at speed step 30. So we have a tiny little bit of back EMF left, and see how we go up the hill this time. Just notched up to notch 7. Now, you'll see now that's about as slow as it goes before it starts to wheel slip. And then you can see it speed up. So we could have a train. Let me just drag this back here, and I'll do a close-up. We could have a train going about that fast. So that's about as slow as I can get it before I get wheel slip. And then of course, if I let some of the load off, it speeds up. So this is what we're at. This is what you have to play with and see how slow you want the train to go on a hill, fully loaded, and then work out where you want to go from there. Okay, here's an example. We're on speed step 25. And we're crawling because we've passed the back EMF is set to turn off at 20, and we're starting to lose that back EMF. Now I put that up to 30. So 32. We're just starting to speed up now. So we notched down 1 notch there. Just notched down another one, and we're topping the grade now, so Right, well, I still have some speed settings to do with this locomotive as far as my speed table is concerned. But we'll be getting onto that in the next video, which will be setting your speed table and adjusting a speed curve for a even more appropriate... no, let's try that again. Right. Well, as you can see, CV10 is one of those ones that I can't really show you how to do it or what to do to get the best results. It's something you'll have to muck around with yourself on each locomotive. Just remember, wherever you set one, you have to set the other ones to the same. Otherwise, you'll have some that are losing their back EMF earlier, and they won't be working as hard as the other ones. So you'll get fighting there. But it's not as crucial well off. And if you can have the back EMF backing off early on one locomotive a bit sooner than another one, it's not a real problem as long as your train isn't getting close to being maxed out on the grade. So when you start to get close to maximum adhesion and your locos are all fighting for every bit of adhesion, the one that has a bit stronger back EMF will start slipping more, and the other ones will just sort of coast along. So it's a little bit of a mix and match. You have to sort of do it on the fly, and you can work out where you want it set. It's just a thing to play with. So it's one of those things that's hard to explain. You just have to muck around with it. But the same thing, if you can find a setting for one, like I say, I have all mine, the back EMF cutting off at speed step 50. So CV10 set at 50. So that means by speed step 50, the back EMF is completely gone. I have had it set as low as 40, and so this one, this girl here, we had it 35. I just found they get quite slow on the hills, which is great. It looks really good, especially if you've got a 3 or 4 SD40-2s in notch 8 screaming. You know, you might be on speed step 40 or 45, and they're just crawling up the hill with the wheels not slipping. That's really good, but they are quite slow, so it's a bit of a mix and match. But anyway, you'll love it. It's much better, and I say as soon as you have that back EMF backing off, you'll have less fighting because the locos will be a little bit more relaxed and they won't have that cruise control effect where they need to be going at that speed. So if you ease your back EMF off when you turn it off completely, then they can just go along like DC locos and speed up and down and get sort of, they're not so regimented in where they need to be in their speed, which is what we want. So there you go. CV10. Set it. Well, I reckon for most of you, probably, depending on how you run them, anywhere between 50 and 100. But whatever you do, put some back EMF cutoff in. It'll make your consisting a lot easier. Locos won't fight with each other. They'll slow down on the grades a lot better, so you'll be able to notch it up a bit more. And as you come over the grade and the train starts to speed up, you can start notching down a little bit because it'll start speeding up. And you'll really enjoy running your trains a lot more with it. Anyway, it's one of those ones where it's a bit hard to explain, and I can't really show you how it works that well. Go and have a play with it. There we go. Put some CV10 into your locomotives, yeah, and you will find it much easier. Anyway, that's it. This one's been a bit difficult to explain and show, but anyway, that's how it is. Ooh, what's the next one? On, now hang on, let's cut and... Now, in part 4, we'll be looking at speed curves, and the speed curves that I use, instead of a linear curve, I use a speed curve where the first 3 or 4 speed steps the voltage only goes up slightly, so you can get a few notches under your belt before you start accelerating, and then as you get to about speed step 20 thereabouts, then the voltage starts going up. So it's a sort of bit of a roller coaster curve like that, where normally your speed curve would be, the same as in our graph here. Speed step 0 is here, and speed step 128, it's a straight line. Well, I use a speed curve that isn't like that. So we'll be going into that. If you're using Tsunami 1s, you can use the loadable speed curve. I'll show you how to do that. It's easy. You just put a CV in and it does it for you. Unfortunately, Tsunami 2s don't have that anymore, and because most people didn't use it, so we've touched on that. So with Tsunami 2s, you have to match the speed curves with the 28 speed steps. Not as hard as you think. We'll do that on the next video. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you back on the Birdwood sub very, very soon. And if you're liking what I do and the videos, think about subscribing. It's a peace piece, and it just helps all the crap in the background, what they say. Anyway, and we'll be doing, there's quite a few more CV shortcuts to go, so I hope you enjoyed the series. Hope you're getting really good results here, Locus. We'll see you in part 4. Yeah, hooray for now. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Where's the controls? Okay.